First speaker Valara of the Sylphid Collective stood on her command bridge, her crystalline wings catching the light of distant stars. The neural interfaces connecting her to the ship's systems hummed with information as she studied the vessel that had just dropped out of hyperspace. Her antennae twitched with anticipation. First speaker, preliminary scans complete. Second voice Kratil announced, his mandibles clicking in confusion. It's a human vessel. Valera's compound eyes shifted through spectrum analysis as she examined the ship. It was ugly by Sylphid standards, all brutal angles and functional design rather than the elegant crystalline architecture of their own vessels. The ship's registry identified it as the Peaceful Merchant, which even Valera knew was suspiciously straightforward for a human vessel name. Manifest, she asked, her translator converting the complex harmonics of Sylphid speech into standard galactic common. That's the strange part, Kratil responded. They're listing agricultural equipment and environmental control systems. Nothing else. Valera felt her wings vibrate with suspicion. In her 3 cycles as a liberation specialist, what humans crudely called a pirate, she learned that human ships were never what they seemed. But this one seemed different. The manifest was too simple. Compare against the database, she ordered. The ship's quantum processors hummed, cross-referencing known human vessel patterns. No matches, Kratil reported. Most human manifests we've encountered contain what they call jokes or puns. This one is remarkably straightforward. Valera extended her sensory filaments, tasting the vacuum between the ships. Something felt wrong, but she couldn't identify what. Her crew of 43 Sylphids waited for her decision, their crystalline bodies resonating with battle readiness. Open communications, she ordered. The quantum-entangled comm system sparkled to life. The human that appeared on the holo display was female, dark-haired, with the unsettling jewel eyes of her species. She wore what appeared to be a standard merchant captain's uniform, though Valera noted it was unusually well maintained for a cargo vessel. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Peaceful Merchant," the human said, showing none of the fear Valera had come to expect from prey species. "How can we help you today?" "This is first speaker Valera of the Liberation Vessel Crystal Harmony," Valera responded, her wings flaring in the traditional display of dominance. "Your vessel has entered Sylphid space without proper authorization. We will need to conduct an inspection." Captain Chen's expression remained neutral. "Of course, we're just carrying agricultural equipment and environmental systems. Nothing exciting." Valera's antennae twitched again. No protest. No attempts at evasion. No clever wordplay in the cargo description. Either this was the most honest human she'd ever encountered, or something was very wrong. "Prepare for boarding," Valera announced. "Any resistance will be met with appropriate force." "No resistance here," Chen replied with what humans call a smile. "We're a peaceful vessel, just as our name suggests. Docking port is on the starboard side. We'll roll out the welcome mat for you." The transmission ended, and Valera turned to her crew. Third voice, "Prepare the boarding team." "Full combat configuration." First speaker, Kratil interrupted. "I've been analyzing their power emissions. They're unusual." "Explain." "Their reactor output is significantly higher than needed for a vessel of that size, even accounting for human inefficiency. And there are power flows I cannot trace." Valera considered this information. Humans were Deathworlders, evolved on a planet that should have killed them. Everything about them was dangerous, from their robust immune systems to their ability to survive radiation levels that would crystallize a Sylphid. But they were also bound by galactic commerce laws, and this ship's manifest was properly filed. "Proceed with boarding," she ordered. "But stay alert. Humans always have surprises." As her boarding team prepared, Valera studied the human vessel again. Its hull was marked with wear that seemed too uniform, its running lights slightly too bright for mere cargo illumination. The more she looked, the more little details seemed wrong. But she was first speaker Valera, rising star of the Sylphid Liberation Front. She had taken 17 vessels in the past cycle alone. One simple human cargo ship with an unusually honest manifest couldn't possibly be a threat. As the boarding shuttle departed their crystalline ship, Valera felt her wings vibrate with an ancient warning frequency. Her ancestors had developed the sensation to warn of approaching storms on their homeworld. She dismissed it as irrelevant in space. That was her first mistake. The peaceful merchant's docking port opened to receive them, looking for all the world like a standard cargo vessel's airlock. As the boarding team approached, Valera realized what had been bothering her about the manifest. Humans never listed things simply. Never. And there was a very good reason for that. The boarding shuttle's docking clamps engaged with a sound that resonated through Valera's crystalline body. She led her team of 6 elite sylphid warriors, their translucent forms shifting with combat-ready frequencies. The human ship's airlock cycled, revealing Captain Chen waiting with 2 crew members in standard merchant uniforms. "Welcome aboard the peaceful merchant," Chen said, still wearing that unsettling human expression called a smile. "Would you like a tour of our agricultural equipment?" Valera's sensory filaments detected unusual atmospheric variations. "Your life support seems robust for a cargo vessel." "Oh, that's just our environmental control system," Chen replied. "Very standard stuff. Completely civilian grade." Third voice Jera, Valera's security specialist, chittered a warning frequency. "First speaker, these corridor dimensions don't match standard human cargo vessel specifications." "There? Reinforced," Chen finished, nodding. "Safety regulations, you understand. Space is dangerous." Valera's wings vibrated with increasing unease. Everything about the ship felt wrong. The deck plates were too thick, the bulkheads too sturdy. Even the air circulation seemed designed for something beyond mere life support. "Show us your cargo holds," Valera demanded. "Of course." Chen gestured down the corridor. "Though I should mention, our agricultural equipment is quite sensitive. Best not to disturb it." They moved through the ship, and Valera noticed more discrepancies. The internal structure suggested defensive capabilities far beyond merchant vessel requirements. Power conduits ran in redundant patterns she'd only seen in military vessels. The cargo bay doors opened with a hiss that carried harmonic undertones no civilian hydraulic system should produce. "Here we are," Chen announced. "Our agricultural equipment." Valera's compound eyes shifted through multiple spectrums as she analyzed the rows of machinery. They looked like farming equipment, certainly, if you didn't know what to look for. But Valera had raided enough ships to spot the inconsistencies. "These aren't agricultural tools," she said, her translator struggling to convey her tone. "The power requirements alone." "Oh, but they are," Chen interrupted. "They're specifically designed for high-gravity environment soil preparation. Very specialized equipment. Would you like a demonstration?" Jera's crystalline form suddenly resonated with alarm. First speaker, energy spike. The agricultural equipment began to move. Panels shifted, revealing systems that had nothing to do with farming. Valera watched in horror as what she thought were simple soil tillers transformed into something far more dangerous. "You see," Chen explained casually, "humans evolved on what you call a death world. Our agricultural equipment needs to be robust. Simple plows don't work well when your soil might contain predators, or when the plants fight back." The cargo bay's lighting shifted, and Valera realized with growing dread that what she'd dismissed as cargo anchors were weapon hardpoints. The environmental control system wasn't just managing air. It was part of a sophisticated defense grid. "This is a violation of galactic commerce laws," Valera protested, her wings flaring with threat displays that suddenly felt inadequate. "Not at all," Chen replied. "Everything on our manifest is exactly what we said it was. Agricultural equipment and environmental control systems. We just didn't specify what kind of agriculture we're equipped to handle or what sort of environment we're controlling." Valera's team moved into defensive positions, but she already knew it was useless. The entire ship was a weapon, disguised with technically accurate descriptions that revealed nothing of their true purpose. "I don't understand," Valera admitted. "Why not simply arm your vessels openly?" Chen's smile took on a predatory edge. "Because, first speaker, if we listed our actual defensive capabilities, we'd have to register as a warship. That would mean restricted access to civilian ports, higher docking fees, more inspections. This way is just more efficient." The agricultural equipment completed its transformation. Valera finally understood why human ships used such creative manifest descriptions. It wasn't about deception, it was about classification. Everything on their manifest was technically true, but the truth was far more dangerous than any lie. "Now then," Chen continued, "since you're here, would you like to discuss a mutually beneficial arrangement? We humans have found that former raiders often make excellent trade partners once they understand our approach to commerce." Valera's antennae drooped as she realized her options had vanished the moment they'd docked. Her wings vibrated with the ancient storm warning frequency again, and this time she understood why. The storm wasn't approaching. They'd flown straight into it. "I believe," Valera said carefully, "that we should discuss terms of cooperation." Chen nodded approvingly. "Excellent choice. Let's start with a proper explanation of human cargo classification systems. I think you'll find it fascinating how many different ways agricultural equipment can be interpreted." The peaceful merchant's conference room felt more like a military command center to Valera's experienced eyes. Captain Chen sat across from her, while both crews maintained a careful distance from each other. The humans' agricultural equipment had returned to its dormant state, but the threat remained clear. "Let me explain something about humans," Chen began, sliding a data tablet across the polished table. "We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every day. Not just through predators, but through weather, bacteria, and even our own food." Valera's sensory filaments detected subtle changes in the room's atmosphere as Chen spoke. The environmental systems were constantly adjusting, far more precisely than mere life support required. "Your environmental control system," Valera observed. "It's not just managing air quality, is it?" "Very perceptive," Chen smiled. "On Earth, our homeworld, weather can turn lethal in minutes. We learn to control our environment not for comfort, but for survival. When we took to the stars, we brought that mindset with us." The data tablet displayed Earth's atmospheric conditions. Valera's crystalline form shuddered at the readings. Temperature swings that would shatter her people, atmospheric pressure changes that could crush or rend, radiation levels that defied belief. "But why maintain such systems on a cargo vessel?" Third Voice Jura asked, their crystalline forms still resonating with combat frequencies. "Because," Chen replied, "space is just another environment trying to kill us. We don't see much difference between surviving a planetary storm and surviving a pirate attack. Both require preparation, adaptation, and," she paused, "creative solutions." Valera studied the specs of the peaceful merchant's civilian systems. What she'd initially dismissed as inefficient human design now revealed itself as layers of redundancy and repurposable systems. Every component served multiple functions, each one capable of switching from peaceful to defensive purposes instantly. "Your cargo manifests," Valera realized. "They're not lies. They're adaptations," Chen finished. "Just like everything else about us. We learned early that the most effective tool is one that serves many purposes. A plow that can't defend against predators is just a piece of metal. A life support system that can't protect the crew is just a fancy air filter." The tablet showed more examples: cargo containers that doubled as emergency shelters, navigation systems that could function as targeting computers, hull plating that absorbed energy weapons and recycled their power. Everything served multiple purposes, all of them technically civilian uses. "But surely the Commerce Authority," Valera began, "reviews our manifests regularly," Chen interrupted, "and finds nothing but agricultural and environmental equipment, exactly as listed. We're very careful about proper documentation. Valera's wings vibrated with a new frequency, not fear now, but understanding. Your entire species thinks this way, doesn't it? Everything must serve multiple purposes. Everything must be capable of defense. When you evolve on a death world, Chen explained, you learn that everything is potentially a weapon, and everything is potentially a tool. The difference lies in how you use it. The human captain stood, walking to a viewport. Beyond it, Valera could see her own crystalline ship, beautiful but suddenly seeming fragile in comparison to the brutal efficiency of human design. Now, Chen continued, about that mutually beneficial arrangement. We have trading routes that would benefit from protection rather than raiding. Your people's crystal technology is impressive and properly combined with our adaptive systems. Valera felt her antennae twitch with interest. You would trust us after we attempted to raid you. Trust. Chen laughed. No, but we respect anyone who can learn and adapt. It's the Deathworlder way. Besides, your attempt to raid us shows initiative and ambition. Those are qualities we value in trading partners, properly directed. The implications slowly crystallized in Valera's mind. The humans hadn't just defended against their raid. They'd turned it into a recruitment opportunity. Even their defense strategy served multiple purposes. And if we decline, Jera asked, then you leave peacefully, with a better understanding of why human ships list their weapons as agricultural equipment. Chen replied. Though I should mention, this sector's about to become much more actively patrolled by similar merchant vessels. Valera analyzed her options with the same clarity that had made her a successful raider. The humans weren't offering just a trade deal. They were offering an education in survival, in adaptation, in turning every situation to one's advantage. I believe, Valera said carefully, that the Sylphid Collective would be very interested in learning more about human agricultural techniques. Chen's smile widened. Excellent. Let's discuss how your crystal ships might benefit from some of our environmental control systems. After all, space is dangerous. Best to be prepared for any weather. As the discussion turned to technical specifications and trade routes, Valera understood why humans had conquered their death world. It wasn't just their ability to survive. It was their talent for turning every challenge into an opportunity, every threat into a tool, every raid into a partnership. The storm warnings in her wings had finally quieted. She wasn't flying into danger anymore. She was learning to adapt. 3 standard galactic weeks later, Valera stood in the newly modified bridge of her ship, the Crystal Harmony, watching as human engineers installed what they called basic safety upgrades. The crystalline architecture of her vessel now housed components that would have seemed barbaric to her just months ago. But she was learning to see beauty in efficiency. The integration is at 87% completion, Captain Chen reported, her hologram hovering beside Valera. Your crystal matrix actually amplifies our defensive systems better than expected. Turns out your people's technology and ours are surprisingly complementary. Valera's wings shifted through approval harmonics as she studied the readouts. The power efficiency is remarkable, though I'm still adjusting to your species' approach to documentation. Chen's hologram smiled. You mean our latest manifest edition, crystalline resonance enhancement arrays for agricultural applications, which are actually weapon systems, Valera noted. No, they're exactly what we listed, systems that use crystalline structures to enhance resonance patterns. The fact that those resonance patterns can be used defensively is simply a feature. A flash of movement on the long-range sensors caught Valera's attention. Her antennae twitched as she recognized the energy signature. Vroth hunting pack. 3 vessels, heavy combat configuration. Ah. Chen's expression turned predatory. Time for a practical demonstration then. Would you like to show them your new agricultural capabilities? Valera felt her crystalline form vibrate with anticipation. The Vrath were notorious raiders, far more aggressive than the Sylphid Collective had ever been. They were also, she knew, about to learn the same lesson she had. Crystal Harmony, she commanded. Activate environmental control systems. The ship's new hybrid systems hummed to life. Human efficiency merged with sylphid crystalline technology in ways that would have seemed impossible weeks ago. Power flowed through pathways that served dozens of purposes, none of them technically weapons, all of them potentially lethal. The Vrath ships approached, their energy weapons charging. Valera detected their scan attempts, knew exactly what they were seeing. A sylphid vessel with some unusual modifications, but nothing that would register as military hardware. "They're hailing us," third voice Jera reported. "Accept transmission," Valera ordered, her wings flaring with barely contained amusement. The Vrath commander appeared on screen, his chitinous face twisted in what passed for a smile in his species. "Sylphid vessel, prepare for." "Greetings," Valera interrupted smoothly. "I see you're interested in our latest agricultural innovations. Would you like a demonstration?" The Vrath commander paused, clearly thrown by her calm demeanor. Behind him, Valera could see his crew frantically analyzing readings that wouldn't make sense to anyone who hadn't learned to think like a human. "Your vessel will be," he began again. "Jera," Valera said calmly, "please show them our new environmental control capabilities, particularly the atmospheric adjustment features." What happened next would be discussed in pirate circles for cycles to come. The Crystal Harmony's hybrid systems activated, human ingenuity amplified by sylphid crystalline precision. Energy fields that were technically just atmospheric containment reached out, disrupting the Vrath ship's power distribution in ways that were, technically, just environmental adjustment. "Fascinating effect, isn't it?" Valera commented as the Vrath vessel's weapon systems went dark. "Human agricultural techniques are so versatile. You never know how the environment might need to be controlled." Chen's hologram watched with obvious satisfaction. "You've learned our documentation style perfectly." The Vrath commander's mandibles clicked in confusion and growing alarm. "What are you?" "Let me explain something about humans," Valera interrupted, echoing Chen's words from weeks ago. "They evolved on a world that tried to kill them. Everything they build serves multiple purposes. Even their paperwork is a weapon." She could see understanding and fear dawn in the Vrath commander's compound eyes. "Now," Valera continued, her wings displaying patterns that mixed sylphid dominance with human pragmatism, "shall we discuss a mutually beneficial arrangement? I believe you'll find our approach to trade protection quite educational." As negotiations began, Chen's hologram gave Valera an approving nod. "You know," the human captain mused, "this partnership is working out better than expected. Your people's natural crystalline architecture combined with our adaptive approach creates something new," Valera finished. "Something that's more than just weapons disguised as agriculture." "Exactly. It's survival adaptation at its finest. Speaking of which, how would you feel about installing some additional environmental control systems? I have some interesting ideas about crystalline resonance patterns." Valera's wings shimmered with anticipation. She was beginning to understand why humans had not just survived their death world, but thrived beyond it. Every challenge was an opportunity, every encounter a chance to adapt and improve. Even their bureaucratic compliance was a form of evolution. The Vrath would learn this lesson today. Tomorrow, perhaps others would learn it too. And with each lesson, each adaptation, the partnership between humans and sylphids would grow stronger. All perfectly documented, of course, in completely accurate cargo manifests. 6 months later, Valera stood in the Galactic Commerce Authority's Central Hall, her crystalline form reflecting the artificial light and patterns that seemed to shift between sylphid elegance and human practicality. Beside her, Captain Chen was presenting their latest joint venture proposal to a panel of wide-eyed bureaucrats. "As you can see," Chen explained, gesturing to the holographic display, "our combined environmental and agricultural protection initiative is fully compliant with all regulations." The head administrator, Exertion with multiple eye stalks scrutinized the documentation. You're proposing to outfit civilian trading vessels with crystalline resonance matrices for crop maintenance. Precisely, Valera confirmed, her wings displaying patterns that she'd learned humans called poker face. The crystalline structures are particularly effective at maintaining optimal growing conditions. The fact that they also happen to dissuade piracy is merely an unfortunate side effect. Side effect? The administrator repeated dubiously. All eye stalks focused on the technical specifications. Just like how your atmospheric regulation systems somehow discourage unauthorized boarding attempts. Space is very dangerous, Chen offered with a perfectly innocent smile. Environmental hazards can appear at any time. Best to be prepared. The revolution had been subtle but profound. In the months since the Crystal Harmony's transformation, the partnership between human adaptability and sylphid precision had changed the nature of space commerce. Pirates across 3 sectors had either reformed into trade protection specialists or learned harsh lessons about human agricultural equipment. Your manifest listings are technically accurate, the administrator admitted, settling back in their hover chair. Though I note that your power requirements seem excessive for mere farming equipment. Have you ever tried growing earth crops? Chen asked. They're very demanding. Some of them even try to eat the gardener. Valera's antennae twitched with suppressed amusement. She'd visited Earth's botanical gardens recently. Chen wasn't exaggerating. Human plants were as aggressive as everything else from their death world. And the crystal resonance patterns? Another administrator asked. Our analysts can't quite determine their purpose. Agricultural optimization, Valera replied smoothly, though they do seem to have interesting effects on weapon systems. Pure coincidence, of course, just like how human farming equipment happens to be remarkably effective at ship defense. The administrators huddled together, their various appendages and sensory organs twitching in agitation. Finally, the head administrator spoke. Your initiative is approved. Though we feel compelled to note that this continues a disturbing trend in human-influenced commerce. Trend? Chen asked innocently. The increasing difficulty in distinguishing between civilian and military applications. It seems everywhere humans go, everyday items develop remarkable versatility. Valera extended her sensory filaments, tasting the mixture of resignation and admiration in the chamber's atmosphere. We prefer to think of it as evolutionary adaptation. After all, isn't commerce about finding new ways to survive and thrive? As they left the chamber, their approval documents transmitted to their ship's data cores, Chen turned to Valera with a grin. You've really embraced the human approach to bureaucracy. Your species' ability to tell the absolute truth while conveying an entirely different meaning is fascinating, Valera admitted. Though I'm still adapting to how you view everything as tool purpose. Not tool purpose, Chen corrected. Multi-purpose. Why should anything only do one thing? That's just inefficient. They'd reached the docking bay where the Crystal Harmony waited, its once pure crystalline form now interwoven with human innovations. The sight no longer seemed like a corruption of sylphid aesthetics to Valera. Instead, it represented a perfect synthesis of both species' strengths. The latest trade route reports are in, Chen noted, checking her datapad. Piracy down 84% in equipped sectors, though there's been a marked increase in applications for agricultural consulting positions from former raiders. Valera's wings shimmered with satisfaction. They're adapting. Learning that survival doesn't always mean combat. Sometimes it means creative documentation. Speaking of creative documentation, Chen added with a sly smile, wait until you see our new proposal for crystalline enhanced educational programs for reformed pirates. Let me guess, technically a training program, but also pure educational purposes, of course, though the curriculum does include extensive studies in human agricultural methods and environmental control systems. As they boarded their respective ships, Valera reflected on how much had changed. The Sylphid Collective had learned that survival wasn't just about strength or speed. It was about adaptation, about finding new ways to thrive in a dangerous galaxy. They'd learned this not through conquest or defeat, but through partnership with a species that had turned survival itself into an art form. And if that art form happened to involve creative manifest writing and agricultural equipment with surprisingly militant applications, well, that was just evolution in action. The Crystal Harmony's engines hummed to life, their resonance perfectly harmonized with systems that were definitely, absolutely, technically just for farming. Valera's wings vibrated with the frequency that once warned of storms, but now felt more like anticipation. After all, in human terms, every storm was just another opportunity to adapt.